Well, here's going to be my next project I'm going to finish up. It's a Megasquirt fuel injection controller. I've got the actual control board, the relay board, the Megaview, and the Mega Stimulator. This is all like an old project I started way back in about 2005, and basically at that time things started getting a little bit busy as far as the school events for the kids and everything, and quite a few other things going on, so I just never really got back to this. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually put fuel injection on my car if I ever race it again. I might be just finishing this up, putting in cases and whatever else, and maybe just selling the whole setup. There's my furnace kicking on at an inopportune time down here in the basement. But anyways, I also have a Holley 750 vacuum secondary carburetor that I converted over to a throttle body, and a couple other components that I'm probably going to be selling here in the next month or two. But as you can see, the majority of this is already built. Notice I didn't, way back in 2005, for some reason I didn't clean the flux off on this, so I'll have to do that. It probably doesn't matter that much anyways, but I generally try to do that. And here's the actual, oh, by the way, I got my anti-static wrist strap on, in case you're wondering, on an anti-static mat. But there's my actual controller, version 2.2. 6 of 03 is when it was produced. I bought it, must have been about September of 04. It was actually a year or so after the board itself was actually produced. But I landed these components way back then and basically never really went any further. Just decided that after I started gathering up parts, and I had a big fuel pump and the whole works to do this, and I just felt it was going to end up being too expensive a project. I could put more money into something else. And like I said, around that time, the Little League baseball, later the Junior League baseball, and the wrestling and all the other school stuff kind of took most of my time. And there's a Mega Stimulator. I built that at the time, clear back in 2004, 2005, that 1 mega ohm pot was on back order, and I just looked for that here the other day, and apparently I must have quit making that particular one. So if anybody knows that, basically that's just the one I had laying in my parts bin that I soldered in just to get it to work. But if anybody knows a source for this style of pot, I don't care what brand, let me know. I like to solder them in, and then I'll mount this to a cover of a case to where just I'll probably mount those LEDs on the case, label each one of these pots, so you can just basically have little knobs and just turn this and know what each pot does, and send a little cord out the end or whatever. But I've also got the Megaview board here as well. I bought that maybe a year or so later, if I remember right. I can't remember the exact date. Maybe there's one on there. It says 2003, but it was after that when I purchased it. But same thing with this. Built it, and pretty much built it. It isn't totally built. It's almost totally built. Just decided to move on to other things. And now I'm thinking either, number one, I will build this, and maybe I will attempt to fuel inject my car if I ever get it running again. Or number two, these things are getting a little bit long in the tooth. There's, a version 3 and maybe even a version 4 now. So maybe it'd be a good idea just to sell this and see what else is available. It looks to me like now you basically don't buy a... that's better. Looks to me as though you don't just buy a kit anymore to put together. Mainly buy like a actual built unit, which kind of stinks. It's about as expensive as if I was going to buy a so-called professional unit. But anyway, just thought I'd show this. And also, while I'm at it here, got my power supply going. It works quite well. I had to do a little messing around with those meters, but that's sitting there with the rest of my test equipment now being used as needed. So anyways, this will probably be my next step here, trying to get this stuff sorted out. Just thought I'd show that here. If anybody has any suggestions, let me know.